welcome back to another monthly market update for the Columbus, Ohio area. I'm Ryan Dieter with Key Realty, and I just want to take a moment to say thank you if you've watched these in the past. Thanks for everyone that has commented saying these are helpful to them, that they're enjoying these videos. If you would take a moment just to maybe just leave a comment, write a review, that'd be great. And also, if you haven't yet, please subscribe. But if you've watched these, obviously, you know we do a deep dive into the numbers that the Columbus Realtor Board puts out every month. So towards the end of the next month, we get the numbers for the previous month. So it's about, I think on this, today is September 21st, and we got the numbers for the month of August just today. So we're going to dive into these and kind of look at them and kind of just see what's going on in there. And I'm sure if you've been paying attention to the news, you're hearing about the slowdown, you're hearing things, you may be hearing all kinds of things. The crash was coming, all that kind of stuff. And I just want to kind of look at the numbers and see what the numbers are telling us. So I'm going to share my screen. We're going to pull that up. So this, going to pull up, here they are. So this is the August 2022 numbers. And the first thing I like to look at is, okay, what are closed sales doing? What are pending sales doing? Because this is going to give us an idea of what next month's coming. And so what you can see here is we definitely had a slowdown, compared to last August. This is the change comparing last August to this August. So you see, obviously less. The thing that I would kind of make that caveat is that we had great, almost record, and I believe record number of sales last year and the year before. As you all know, the market was just steamrolling through the last 2 years. So comparing this to the last 2 years is a little bit of a and drawing some conclusion from that is a little bit hard. So what I like to do is, okay, let's look at last year, but also let's look at 2019. Let's jump into 2019. I don't know if I have it pulled up yet, but let's go August 2019. You can see here closed sales went down that month, but also look at the number. We had 3,230 going back to August. We had almost just, a couple, not even less than 100 difference in that, sales. So, and no one was calling 2019 a buyer's market by any means, or panicking about the market being, not selling houses and things like that. So, and that's just something to always keep in mind when we're thinking about what's going on today. The last 2 years, like everything, like when you're comparing the last 2 years, a lot of people are having a hard time comparing the last 2 years of anything to what's going on right now. As things are starting to stabilize, we're getting back to those pre-pandemic numbers across the board in a lot of ways. Besides that, obviously there's still some influence from that going on today. That's probably influenced the market as well, but we're still seeing more things start to stabilize and when we compare the numbers. In contracts are also down. So something I also like to look at is, okay, this went down 13%, 19%. Where would that look like last year? Let's go into August 2021. We saw still a pretty significant jump, this time of year in August, or sorry, this is, for the August numbers. We definitely see a slowdown in closings. We see less closings in August than we do in September. We're probably going to see that this year as well. So, as you can see, there was more in contracts than closed, but that in contracts is a big number. That's 20% less than last year. So that is something I'm closely eyeing and saying, okay, yeah, there's 20% less when in 2021, we only had about 5% less. So it's a 15% difference in the contracts that are, homes that are in contract that eventually become closed, and these will in September essentially. So that is something I'm definitely keeping an eye on, just some data to pay attention to. The other thing I'm looking at is, okay, sale price. Obviously everyone's concerned, everyone's always talking about what's the median sale price, the average sale price really. And that, year over year has gone up still. Last month we saw 10%, 10.4. This month we saw, 9.7. So not that significantly different than what we're seeing in the years past. And so, people are, kind of asking me, is now a good time to buy? But I'm going to tell you that it's more expensive to buy than it was, or when it was last year, or if now's a good time to sell. Homes are still selling for around 10% more than they were last year. So, it's hard to parse hairs when you're talking about, should I have waited, should I wait till spring? Should I, did I miss the boat? Your homes are still selling for an average of 10% higher. And the homes that are selling, another thing I want to like kind of focus on here, are still getting close to list price. Percentage of original list price received is just under 100%. So not everything's, going for well over asking anymore, but things are getting pretty close still to what the list price is. Now let's go back to that August of 19. We saw that's pretty, it's actually better than it was in 2019. So, so that's something to consider as well. Just because, we're seeing more price reductions and things like that doesn't mean that, the bottom's falling out. It just means that we're seeing more of it, because we didn't see any of it in the last 2 years. It's just, we get conditioned. We've been conditioned in the last 2 years to have this mindset of this crazy market, that things are just going to fly off the shelf, and sellers think that if they list the house, it's going to go for 20, 30, $40,000 over asking price. And that's not normal. We've just been conditioned that for the last 2 years. So getting back to what I would consider a normal seller's market, it's still a seller's market. It seems like it's slowing down, or the bottom's falling out, when in reality it's just getting to a slower, quote unquote, slower seller's market. So one thing to think about when you're thinking about, if you are thinking about listing your house, is not necessarily just looking at what's sold in the past 2 years or past few months. Is look at what's out there, look at the competition, look what's still out there, what's not selling, and really focus on that a little bit more than you normally would have in the past. And something to think about is new listings. We have had less new listings this month. Quite a significant drop. Almost 15% drop. So even though that's the difference between in contracts and listings, for buyers, unfortunately, there's not going to be a huge surge in the inventory. 10% of 1.2 months of inventory is not a significant amount. That if that was 10 months, then you had 10%, that'd be a pretty significant number. But when you're already starting pretty low, that percentage, that's not a very high percentage. And let's look at last year's increase. Yeah, last year's increase or the last month's increase was 20%, which is, still, again, kind of that same idea, but we had a little slowdown of inventory creeping up, which is not going to help buyers per se. It's only, going to help sellers. And last year we had the same 10% number. And no one was panicking in August of 2021 saying the market's falling apart. Now there are some signs that we see in this time around that we're not seeing last year. And that significantly is the interest rates are huge, are a factor. We're seeing less loan approvals, less loan applications, actually. But what I'm kind of seeing and noticing is a lot of these in the last 2 years, what made the market so crazy is when interest rates are under 4%, in the threes essentially, that it makes a lot of people buyers that really in most markets should not be buyers. Now they may not have been able to make the crazy offers. It's the buyers that were, that can still afford to buy right now, that were the ones that were able to make those, offers with over asking price and dropping contingencies. It was the buyers that, were on the line of being able to buy something or just on the cuffs, that were making the multiple offer situations take place. And having, when you have 20 offers, all of a sudden buyers start to say, well, I've got to throw all my chips in the card because they have 20 offers. And so there was probably 10 to 15 of those offers that maybe never should have been offers to begin with. Now you got, you're left with five solid buyers. And that's kind of what we're seeing still. Now interest rates are going to continue to creep up, in my opinion, with the Fed. We actually just saw one, I believe it was yesterday, increase. I think I was told that the average interest rate right now is just over 6, maybe 6.25, which is a significant difference if you were quoted at 3.5 just 6 to 8 months ago. But something else I want to kind of keep an eye on for you is this idea of this year-to-date number. So when we talk about the average price point year-to-date, if you were to buy, a year ago, you're paying, anywhere from, 10, looking at August to August, or just this year alone, the growth, we've had 11%, almost 12% appreciation growth here when it comes to the average price point. That's that's a significant amount for a market that you're getting close the $300,000 range. That's almost over 30 grand a year. And I want to kind of keep an eye on that 11% because that's kind of where we are this month. Last month we saw 12%, so that has gone down month over month. But let's jump back to 2021 and I want to talk about that difference. And we went from 12.2% in one month to 11.8 the next month. And we're actually going to see a bigger jump in July of 2021. We saw that at the growth at 15%, and this is August of 19. So I want to go back to August of 21, so it makes it a little confusing. So August of 21, we're now at 14.3. So we actually saw a bigger jump in the slowdown, the percentage of slowdown in July of 21 to August of 21 than we have in August of 22 to July of 22. So just something to think about. Another number, we can really look at different data points all day and say, is this a sign of this or that? I don't want to get too bogged down in that stuff. But at the same time, bottom line is the market is still more competitive, in my opinion, than in 2019. If you look at 2019, August of 2019, we had almost 2% or almost 2 months of inventory supply. Average price received was, original price received was 97.5. So we're actually, with those metrics, are in a more competitive market today than we were in 2019. There are also other factors that we didn't see in 2019 that we're seeing today, but that can be made of any month, any year, anything like that. So bottom line is buyers are still buying in the Columbus market. Interest rates are up in the 6s. They have been for the last few months, and buyers are still buying. Good houses are still selling. Houses that need work and aren't in desirable locations are sitting a little longer. They may sit for a while and have price drops. Again, that's normal in a normal seller's market even. So those are just things to consider. If I was a buyer this time of year is actually in my opinion, a little bit better time to buy, because you have a lot of stuff, a lot of factors in that. One, you're not paying quite as much as you would have in the past spring. And then you have, you'll get in contract and, say August, September, let's say September, you get in contract, you close in October, and then you have a couple months, and then you have the spring market again, which can boost your value, and you can gain, quite a bit of equity if the market continues to see the directions we have. Again, I don't predict, 10 to 20% equity gain in the next year, but even 5% of $300,000 as your average price point is a good chunk of change that most people would be happy to take with any investment, let alone your personal residence. So those are just things to think about. If you're considering buying or selling, I would be more than happy to have these conversations more focused on your experience or your needs, and also your location. Because I just want to reiterate, the economy is only one factor that influences the market. And in fact, I think it's one of the smaller factors. I think one of the bigger factors is life change. Life change has not stopped. Now, during the pandemic, we saw a huge acceleration of life change. I call it a lot of people, the big disruptor in people's lives. So we saw a massive amount of life change, but we're still seeing life change today. People are still getting jobs. They're still moving. They're still having babies. They're still getting married, still getting divorced. Life change is still happening, and people need houses still. And on top of that, I can't get through a video without mentioning Intel in Columbus coming, and the population growth still growing here in Columbus. So long story short, if you're a buyer, I think this is actually a little bit of an opportunity for you to find a house that with less competition. And yeah, you're going to be paying more monthly with the interest rates higher. But one of the sayings that a lot of real estate agents like to use is you marry the house and you date the interest rate. Interest rates can change, and you can also change it. You can always refinance. Now it costs money, and those are things to consider. But at the same time, you're not always stuck with that interest rate. There's ways around it. And the other thing, the trick that a lot of buyers can use now, since competition is down, is you can actually ask for closing costs to buy down that rate. So you can actually ask for a certain amount of money to say, hey, I can do what's called a buy down, or you add points to your loan, which helps get that interest rate lower up front instead of long term. And it's a great way to find a monthly payment that's more comfortable for you. So there's always things that you can do to help figure out a way to help you get in a home or to sell your home in this market. So hope this is helpful. Again, please subscribe if you find it helpful. Leave a note. Feel free to email me. Or if you have any questions, please reach out. Thanks. Have a great day.